We always love when we have connection coders come on the podcast and share their transformation journey and what they have gained from the connection codes. Today, we are going to have Rachel and Tyler on the podcast as they share how these tools have impacted every aspect of their life, from their vulnerability and their friendships to their own marriage and in parenting. We're going to be touching on every aspect of being a person and using these tools, and I am just so grateful to have them on. Welcome to the Connection Codes podcast. This is the podcast where we break open the emotions that take us from being disconnected to connected in our relationships and in ourselves. I am your host, Tara Wages, and joining me is marriage and family therapist, clinical sexologist, Dr. Glenn Hill, and his incredible wife, Phyllis. And together, they have founded the Connection Codes, which is the guide to human connection. And we're so glad you're here.
Hello, world.
Hi, friends. We are so excited today. You may notice that our backdrop is a little different. So we're always moving around a little bit, trying to get all these podcasts done.
Have microphone will travel.
Yes, that's true. And we have dear friends with us today. These guys, we have sat on their front porch. We have rocked in their rocking chairs and beautiful scenery all around. But just so thankful that they are joining us today. So Rachel and Tyler, thank you. Thank you for being with us and just sharing your Connection Code story. We love that.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We're excited.
So start off by just telling us a little bit about who you guys are. I was a little vague. I did say that we've sat on your front porch and that you have beautiful scenery, but that's all I've told.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Tyler. This is Rachel, and we live here in the mountains of Western North Carolina. We've been married.
The beautiful mountains,
Yes.
Tyler. My gosh, dude.
Fall is in the air, so it's a beautiful time to be here. And we've been married for 16 years, been together almost 20, a little over 20. But we've got 3 kids, 7, 8, and 13. So experiencing the teenage years with our daughter, our oldest. And yeah, we've had a lot of life changes in the last couple of years, but so honored to be here with you guys and talk again. So thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you guys. So tell us how Connection Codes first came to you guys, how you were introduced to it, and just a little bit about that.
Yeah, awesome. So I was involved with, the first time I ever heard about Connection Codes was, I was lucky enough to be involved with Jason Valentin and Brave Co. And he was talking about the Connection Codes one day, and you guys, and the core emotion wheel that I had never heard of. And so the interest just was there. And so we started digging into that. And then that led to us, I think in early 2021,
January 2021.
doing the foundations class. It was January, and we were bought in from day one. It was just so life-changing for us, and it just turned on a light bulb, I think, for both of us in our relationship.
Interestingly enough, that day that you, I think, heard about it with Jason Valentin, I had a rough day. And so he came upstairs and he pulled it up online and he started asking me.
I had no idea what I was doing, but
he started asking me, okay, so when did you feel sad today? And I started working through it, and it made me feel so much better. I'm like, what is this?
Wow, that's amazing. So even not knowing what you were doing, you did it.
We knew it was good. We just didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow. And that's what we try to always convey to people. The reason that was so effective for Rachel was because she's a human. And humans need to exhale just like they need to inhale. Humans need to process emotion whenever they experience it. So again, not even knowing what the heck was happening, Rachel starts experiencing that humanness, and it's just powerful. Wow, I love it. That's cool.
Yeah, I would say too, to add to that, I can remember when you said that, I remember there was this connection there that I don't think we had in a while. So we knew, boy, this is something, and we need to dive into this. So that's what led us to the next thing.
Yeah, I don't believe in magic fairy dust, but this isn't too far. Think about it. I mean, you had just seen that. And we hear these stories just constantly from around the world. You just found this and you go upstairs, not because you have a PhD in this, but because you're just human. And that was part of our dream when we were trying to craft this, was how do we make it so that somebody as slow as Tyler could, oh no, sorry.
It's true.
That wasn't fair. I missed on that.
Feeling some sadness.
That was really a thing back. And again, this is, we don't know exactly what, 10 years ago. But Phyllis said, babe, I'm not reading a book. I'm not reading a research project. I'm like, oh, you want to read this one? It's 37 pages long and it's really fascinating. She's like, I'm not reading that. Make it simple. And this is back when she's running her business. She's like, I don't have time to read all this stuff. I'm not going to go get my degree in this. Make it simple. And I was like, oh, baby, you don't understand. Humans are complex. She's like, nope, don't want to talk about it. If you make it simple, we can talk about it. And we did. And again, Tyler, I'm just teasing you because you're brilliant. I've been with you. I know this. But it is that simple. It's that implementable. And that's always our goal, is to make it so that, and we hear from people all the time. They learned the connection codes 3 weeks ago and they're presenting it at a conference. And I'm flooded with joy and fear because I'm just like, I worked on this for 3 decades and you've been aware of it for 3 weeks and you're teaching a class on it. It works because it is that simple.
Good. You made it simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me. Thank you.
Yeah.
What would you guys say has been just your biggest takeaway with the connection codes?
Wow. Go ahead.
I think I would say that things that used to take us a day or days to process through, figure out, now can take literally minutes. It's just, it is that tool in our tool belt that it helps us to process through an emotion of the day, where used to, I may not know what was going on with Tyler and then internalize it and think that it's something I have done. And now just being able to, him coming in and saying, hey, I'm just really feeling a lot of shame in this. It's like minutes we can process through this and stay connected, because the other way it's very disconnected, because you start making up scenarios in your head and it's you, and then you get mad and you've not even had a conversation about it.
Yeah. And I think just to that, conflict seems to be resolved so much quicker. When we feel conflict rising in the house, we run to the connection codes, we run to that wheel, or we say we missed it. So it gave us language to really deploy in those moments that really just settles things and helps us reconnect, hear each other, and move past that moment. So I think that's for us is probably, there's so many. It's so hard because it's small emotions and then it's the big things. It's just everything that we can use it for and help us be better as a couple, but better parents and
better friends.
Yeah, I was thinking about that as far as how it has benefited you guys, but I would love to hear just how has this played out or touched the relationship you have with your children or friends, or just the community that you're in, and if there's been opportunities to use the connection codes and see the difference that it has made with other people.
Yeah, definitely both. So definitely like in our relationships, in our community, we have a pretty tight-knit community and friends. And so it's definitely helped there. I'll let you expound on that. We went through, a lot of our friends have read your book. They're using the core emotion wheel. It's things that we can use in community to communicate and talk about. Even recently, we had a friend over and we were talking through some things, some potential conflict. I think it was a misunderstanding, but we were able to say and use these tools to help really get to what was going on and resolve that issue. And to learn to not jump to the defense and validate the way they were feeling instead of discrediting their emotions, even though we may not understand, we may not have meant to do that or make them feel that way, but this gives us language to help validate what their emotions are, not discredit it. I think that's probably definitely a big thing that I've learned through this, is to not discredit someone else's emotion, because regardless of the circumstances around it, this person feels a certain way. So not discrediting that and going on the defense, like you have said, we're not going to court.
Yeah, we
say friends.
That. We say that all the time. This is not a courtroom. We're not going to try.
Yeah,
we're friends. We love each other. Bottom line, we love each other, and we are not going into a courtroom. And just like he said, validating those feelings of this person has felt this regardless of what surrounded it. And that helps to keep immediately, that gives connection and helps to keep the conversation connected, which could go in a total opposite direction.
Yeah.
And even with our kids, we were talking about this earlier, they'll come to us and we may not even know something's going on, and they're using something off the core emotion wheel to tell us what's going on with them in a moment. And
my daughter, our 13-year-old daughter, she is really quick to come to either one of us and just say, hey, I'm feeling sad about this.
Wow.
Or she also she'll come to me if I am being quiet or distant from her. She will come to me and she'll say, hey, Mom, I feel like, have I done something to you, or have I made you feel a certain way? Because I feel like you're distant. And I'm able to say to her, I'm so sorry. It's not mean to make you feel that way. Here's what's going on with me. And it just immediately is connection. And I think them just hearing us use that language with them, it is, kids pick up things so much quicker than adults do.
And if we can teach our 7 and our 8-year-old and our 13-year-old how to process and have high emotional intelligence, I think that's important for us, that they understand. Don't just say, I'm sorry. Say, I missed it. How did you miss it? And we walk through that, whether it's out here in the yard playing football or if it's something that happens in the house. But I remember you talking about, just to a story about validating and not discrediting someone's emotions. We were camping and we were on a bike ride, and it got dark. And it got really dark, and my 7-year-old was scared to death. And I remember you talking about the whole being afraid of the dark. Don't just tell him, don't be afraid of the dark. You're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Instead, I was behind him, and I was every time he would say it, I was validating that emotion. I know, I'm afraid too, son. I'm afraid. It's okay. We're going to be, I hear you. And just validating that emotion of being afraid got him through. I swear, I think it got him through the moment to get over the bike ride and get back to where we were going.
Yeah.
It's little things, I think, as a father and a mother, to validate those things in your kids, so that it's not just, oh, don't be afraid of that. It's okay. You shouldn't be afraid. No, let's hear it. Let's validate it. Yeah. Let's move through it.
Yeah. And you keep using the word discredit, which I get that. But most people would hear that and be like, oh, I would never discredit my child. I would never discredit my spouse. I would never discredit my mom, my neighbor, whatever. But we do that from a good intention, good heart, great motivation. So in that setting, for Tyler to say, no, buddy, don't feel fear. You're okay. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. What's he going to do with the fear now? Because basically telling him, number one, stop it. Number two, shut up about it.
Yeah.
Well, that discredits him. But so often people do it and they're not trying to do harm. They're actually trying to do good. If Phyllis comes to me and says, babe, I felt hurt by what you said earlier. What? No, babe, don't feel hurt by that. I didn't mean anything bad by it. I'm actually I'm disregarding her experiencing, not because I'm trying to harm her. I'm actually trying to help her, but it just doesn't work. And through it all, she experiences me saying, stop experiencing hurt and shut up about it. And I actually told her that she's wrong and stupid for feeling hurt. And we do that all the time, again, from a good intention, but it's bad application.
And so we're using different words, but also that's just resisting the energy. So with a bike ride, it's getting dark, and him saying, oof, I feel fear. I'm afraid of the dark, which I would think all of us would be on a bike in the dark, because there's no street lights usually when you're camping and you're in the woods. And so to resist that would be to say, to try to reassure, but to go, yeah, me too. Then you're actually following his energy, and that is where he feels heard and seen. And that brings actually great comfort. It's like it helps him regulate his nervous system that's getting escalated because of the fear. And so then you being like, oh yeah, me too, buddy. Ooh, and being able to lean into it, it just changes the interaction. And that's just, it's so beautiful. And I think even with connection codes and parenting, it's wow, we see so many people who are introduced to this and then go from the foundations to the parenting masterclass often it's like that light bulb moment where you go, oh my word, I've really been doing the opposite of what my child needed.
Yeah, not from a bad heart.
Yeah.
From a great heart.
Yeah. And we want to take the pain away from our children. And we think by either reassuring them or giving them the facts, that is what they need, when really that is not. It doesn't comfort. It's the resisting of that. And so I love that you guys have used these tools to really not just connect with each other, but you've seen it play out with your kids and with your friends, which is such a cool thing, because to me, that's where people start to really get it when they start using all of this language beyond just themselves.
Yeah.
I remember that being such a light bulb for me, because when you talked about discrediting someone else's emotion, I realized, I'm like, oh, wow, I have been doing that to him, to my kids, to my friends. Like you said, good heart, good intentions of just when your kid comes to you and says, I'm afraid, you, as a mom, you're like, oh, don't be afraid. You don't have to be afraid. But just that was such a light bulb for me, because I realized, again, good intentions, good heart, but I had been doing that.
Yeah. I've spent some time with you, Rachel, and you're incredibly kind and gentle and precious. And we try to always stress people, Rachel wasn't disregarding the other human because she's a jerk. She wasn't doing it because she's this cold-hearted sociopath. She's actually the opposite. She's an incredibly kind, warm, giving person. She just didn't know that, oh, that's actually making it worse, not better. And it's exhausting. And of course, again, we hear tons and tons of stories about that it simplifies it so much just to that's the reason that we develop the just go, what's simple? Oh, just the girl, just the boy, just be present, follow their energy, lots of versions of the but just be present with them in the moment. So that's amazing. Wow. So biggest challenge with the connection codes, where do you miss the most with all these delightful layers and nuances?
Challenge. What were we talking about earlier? I think maybe in the beginning, now it gets easier as you use it. It just almost becomes, most of the time, second nature. Yeah. I would say I probably still have some moments, probably more with Tyler, that I can still discredit your emotion. So that's probably still, and then I can realize and recognize, oh, I have done that. I missed it. Yeah. So that's probably more of a challenge for me personally. But I would say in the beginning, just getting in, when you're learning it and getting into the groove, it's not really a huge challenge. But once we have started using this just in our day-to-day life, it just seems like second nature now. Like, can you think of anything?
No, I think it's just identifying, like, when something happens, did I lose identity in that, and why, and what's going on, and being able to explain, even with my kids, if I lose my temper or if I do something, I'm now able to say, listen, I missed it. I was feeling fear, and this is the result of that. Oh. And being able to even communicate with that with my 7 and 8 year old. I think that's the kind of the house we want, is that it's open for discussion. But when you missed it, we missed it, and this is why we missed it, and this is what I was feeling. And I think being able to do that just creates a connection that's hard. You can't really, there's nothing else that does that. And so I don't know. Yeah, I think the challenge is identifying those moments and understanding what's going on.
Yeah. And that's so powerful, because that establishes an atmosphere, a relationship, a household of authenticity and vulnerability. Because now dad, this man's man, is able to say, I felt some fear there. Yeah. So now this 7-year-old is invited into being able to say, Dad, I felt some fear there. And I know you felt fear before, and I felt some fear there. And what I hear, I'm a marriage therapist, I'm also a family therapist. And when I sit with families, so often the parents say, oh, our teenagers don't share with us. They don't talk to us about anything anymore. I can't get a full sentence out of them. That's because we've been telling them to shut up for a decade. And finally they got the message. And we don't say it with those words. We just go, oh, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. And so somewhere around 11, 12, 13, the kids, okay, dad doesn't care. He doesn't share anything authentically with me. And he keeps telling me to stop feeling what I'm feeling. Okay, I'll go find somebody who's safe for me, who will hear me. And then the dad's, what happened? I didn't raise, my child like that. You did. You didn't realize it's not from a bad heart, bad intention, but you did. You've been telling them to stop being authentic for a decade, and they finally got the message, and they finally did it. And then the parents are like, what happened? Our 15-year-old never shares with us. So I just get how powerful that is. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't think you can parent without this, honestly.
You can, but
you can. But I think if you want the results of your teenager,
better results.
You want your teenager to engage. You want your adult children to engage. I think you can't wait until they're teenagers to start talking. And my 7-year-old especially, or my 8-year-old, I'm sorry, he's big heart, emotion, and he gets it. And so I know I can have that conversation with him, and he's going to hug me, and we're going to go on. But there's that connection that you just can't have. And I want that to continue. And when he's 14, when he's 18.
Yes.
And the same for our 13-year-old. I told Tyler, I was looking at pictures the other night or something, and I was like, she's such a good kid.
Yeah.
People always say you always hear so many negative things about the teenage years.
Yeah.
And I know you're just right in the beginning of them. And I'm not saying there's not hard things the teenage years, but it's also beautiful.
Yeah. But when the emotional dam never gets built up, when a beaver builds a dam, it starts with one stick. It's that's just one stick. That's a waste of time. Now we have a dam. We flooded the whole freaking area because of one stick and another stick. And so whenever we're at the beginning, the whole 43 feet, the 1 pound weight, and what's the other one? I forget. That's sad. I should know this. Wait. The 43 feet, the river of emotion. Just let the river flow. And when those emotional dams start, and we don't notice them at first. Yeah. And then all of a sudden one day we're like, what happened? Now everything's dammed up. And that's what's going to happen for your daughter. And again, I don't doubt that there are shifts in life, there are adjustments, and your daughter's going to go through a lot of stuff. But when she's able to convey to you a 1 pound weight instead of waiting and conveying a 500 pound weight, the dam never starts. And then you just flow through it. And that's a big sad point for me, is that culturally we've said that, teenagers are impossible. No. Teenagers are dammed up. That's the problem. Yeah.
Right. We've not been really intentional about connecting with them. I think has a lot to do with the misunderstanding, miscommunication. But you've got to be intentional, and it takes some work.
Yes. Yeah.
I love it.
And that's of course so much joy for us when we see all these tools restoring marriages, but then also restoring families and relationships beyond even the ones in your own home. Yeah. So it's just a really cool thing to see, wow, this plays out, and I'm able to use it at work, and I'm able to use it with extended family and neighbors. And so that's amazing. If you guys could share a takeaway, if you were talking to someone and you were trying to get them to buy the book, do the master class, what would be the one thing that you would say to someone who doesn't know anything about the connection codes?
Oh, goodness.
I think we've got several friends that either just got married or are getting married. And we've said this over and over. You cannot get married or start that journey without connection codes.
Yeah.
So that would be my one thing. If you're in a relationship, even if you're not, if it's a serious relationship and you think it might be going that, you still need to understand and use these tools, because I think it's a game changer. And to start out, I wish we would have had that years ago. Absolutely. It took us 14 or 15 to get there, but things would have been so much easier to work through and to hear and to just connect on if we'd have had that. And so I think that's one major, I think.
I told Tyler earlier, I said, every marriage, if you're thinking about getting married, marriage, it's never too late, no matter how long you've been married. As a parent, as a friend, it helps in all of those relationships. But again, another one of those, I guess, culturally, you hear so many things about marriage is so hard. And there are hard moments. However, if you get these tools like the connection codes, it can help work through those hard moments so much easier and staying connected through those hard moments, which is such a big thing. And marriage is fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why I think everybody needs this, because it does. It just keeps you connected through those hard moments. But you have to make that choice to dig into this.
And also, I think just individually, we've had a lot of paradigm shifts in the last 2 or 3 years of our life. And it was almost like connection codes came along right at the perfect time.
Because I love it.
I don't know that we could have went through the last really 24 months, 12 months without having, because there's so many emotions, so many small moments, big moments, but we're able to communicate. Even yesterday, I was just texting her. She was at work. I was at home.
Oh, yeah.
And
let me explain this.
Okay.
So if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So yesterday I work maybe 1 or 2 days at the hospital as a nurse. And I worked yesterday, and Tyler was home with the kids, and he went to a football game with a friend yesterday evening. And he texted me yesterday evening, and he just said, I'm just really feeling a lot of shame and guilt that I did not get the house picked up for you for when you get home. And in that moment, I was able to go ahead and just extend grace to him in that and say, oh, babe, I get that. And that's okay. I completely understand that. And so then when I walked into the house yesterday and see the house not picked up after working a long day, I immediately I'm okay with it, because we had that moment of him sharing where he was. So I didn't walk into the house thinking, oh my gosh, what has he done today? Why is the house not picked up? So just, he shared that moment with me, and he was feeling shame and guilt in that moment. And it was already just immediate connection, even when I walked into the house yesterday.
Yeah. So I think it's just it's a game changer. And I think about so I walked away from a job of 20 years a little over a year ago. And there was a certain process of mourning that I went through, as silly as that sounds, maybe. When relationships, things change, life changes. But being able to put on a daily basis, I'm looking at our refrigerator because that's where the core emotion wheel's at, and being able to just work through that, through those moments, through those emotions, really helped me walk through that season. And I don't know what would have happened if I didn't have that. Would it have been the emotional dam that built up and then burst 3 months into it? And so I see so many people, we see people or we watch TV or something, we're like, man, they need the connection codes. Like it's almost daily. I wish we could just sit them down and walk them through this, because it's just it unlocks something in us to live the life that we're supposed to live. So we're just so grateful for all of it.
We have multiple nights sitting on our porch through the last year and a half, especially. We have said multiple times to each other, oh man, I'm so thankful that we have the connection codes and this tool it's just been such a huge help going through this year, especially.
And that's the reason Phyllis and I are so passionate about this, because we're living it, and we're as stunned as anybody, because we missed probably a quarter of a century. And that's a real sad and shame point for us, because dang it, we're intelligent people. It's like, how in the world did we miss so much so badly for so freaking long? And we never told what could have been, but we're just like, what could have happened if we'd gotten this in our teens, in our leading up to our marriage? I don't know. That could have been amazing. And we do see, and again, anytime two people live in close proximity, they're going to bump into each other. They're going to step on each other's toes. But we always reference it as Shitsville because it stunk so bad. I do not believe that young couples have to live in Shitsville, that they can actually, again, they're going to bump into each other, but they don't have to live and we're seeing that now around the world. The couples, connection coders, they meet, they go through their dating, engagement, wedding, and they never live in the pit of despair like so many of us have. And that's, again, our passion in getting this out to the 8 billion people on the planet.
So you guys have referenced the tool, and it's on your fridge even, which I love that you guys have one of the magnets. But we always love to end our podcasts with doing the core emotion wheel. I think I'm springing this on you, so feel a little guilt about that. Didn't give you a heads up, but we would love it if you guys would do the wheel. And just a reminder, especially for our audience, it's just a 4-minute or less tool, 2 minutes each. And you go through the wheel kind of in the moment, as in the most current emotion connected to like fear, like the most current event. But if you can't think of the most current, then you think of something recently or a big time. Yeah. So,
and the partner is just going to no matter what.
Yeah.
So is that doable?
Yeah, that's doable. Yeah. So what do we want to do? Like, what's the?
I don't know.
You don't have to you don't have to make it issue specific.
Right here. In the moment.
Yes, in the moment.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
No, you first.
I'm feeling so we're gonna be leaving to go out of town here just for the day here in a few hours. And so I was feeling a little bit of fear about having everything together and guilt that I didn't have it all done prior. But I am feeling a lot of joy looking forward to our day together. So that's where I'm at, I think.
Well, but do all 8.
Yeah.
Do all 8. Okay. Shame. I talked about shame. Anger. I don't think I have any anger right now. Maybe earlier when I was trying to get the kids together to go with my dad and they weren't listening. I had a little anger because I wasn't being heard. Hurt. I haven't felt hurt today, I don't think.
When's the last time you felt hurt?
Last time I felt hurt.
For a big time ever.
So I think yesterday I remember I reached out to you on the phone, text earlier in the day, because stepping away from relationships and jobs, sometimes it comes flooding back and I feel hurt and feel forgotten. That was yesterday. I felt a little bit I feel forgotten. Brings on the sadness and so understand it, and lonely. So all those things work together. Fit together, hurt, sad, lonely. And then fear, I would say also there was some fear of what's next. What does this all mean? Yeah. And I want to end with joy about today. So we're going to have a good day together. Yeah.
Love it. Thank you.
Okay. Probably for me, anger. Yesterday, I get a text from my daughter that there's some issues going on in the house, and just feeling a little bit of anger and shame in that. I guess that I was at work and not here to be able to whip that and referee. Sadness that I wasn't here with the kids and that I was at work. Guilty and shame come together for me probably in this week. I feel like I've not gotten finished what I need to get finished with the kids with school, because we homeschool. Just some guilt and shame in that I've not gotten all of their schoolwork done for this week. Fear in that can feel fear that I'm going to fail them. I think probably lonely, like you said before, sometimes in relationships recently in the last year or so, changing of relationships can feel lonely at times.
Yeah.
What do I lack? Joy. I feel joy about today of being together as a family and getting to go on a road trip. And it brings me joy to see my boys excited about going to a football game.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Amazing. I love it.
Wow.
Love it.
Thank you guys so much.
Yes.
And
So special.
we always say,
Yeah. We do this because you need this.
you deserve this.
So
let's do this.
It brings me so much joy to hear about Rachel and Tyler's journey. Thank you both so much for coming on the podcast and sharing all of this with us and our listeners. It is super inspiring and just reminds us why these tools are so important and how they can affect every single aspect of our life if we will simply put them into action. So if you're listening and you're like, okay, we need to go on this journey. It is time. We want to enroll in this Foundations Masterclass. You can find the link in our bio and use the code podcast for 20% off. That's where you're going to gain all of the tools, not just the core emotion wheel, but where we dive into identity and cycles and overcoming conflict in our lives. So again, click the link in the bio and in the show notes and go through and start today so you can finish this year strong and connected in the same way that we just got to hear about Rachel and Tyler. As always, thank you so much for being here. We love that you show up every week, that you leave us reviews, that you share with your friends. It means the absolute world to us. Let's do this.